Your seventh house in astrology, the house of relationships. The seventh house is the house of partnerships and relationships. It represents your relationships to others, especially in regards to your one on one, intimate, and personal connections. This can also be extended to business partnerships and romantic relationships. This also encompasses various types of contracts, lawyers, and counselors. What you need to know about your seventh house in astrology. Hi, and welcome. I'm Patricia Tate with willowgracemystic.com. Your descendant. So the seventh house is an angular house, also known as the descendant. It stands for the opposite in which the first house, known as your ascendant. So since the first house represents your outer self and your public persona, your physical appearance, the descendant or your seventh house represents what can be considered the shadow self. This is not the shadow in a negative sense, but rather the lesser sense of self. It is symbolized by your cosmic plus one. This house is where you are focused on gravitation towards partnership in all areas of your life. Now, the ruler, Venus in Libra. So the seventh house corresponds to the air sign of Libra and its planetary ruler, Venus. This house governs the intimate bonds that you share with your significant others. It represents marriage and long-term relationships, both platonic and romantic. Your seventh house also represents what could be considered as an alter ego or secondary version of ourselves that we look to incorporate or present depending on the company that we keep. We sometimes modify our self-image in order to better get along or appeal to someone we seek to impress or intermingle with. Relationships. So the seventh house relates to all types of long-term relationships, as opposed to short-term flings that are associated with your fifth house. This is the house of union and connection, to combine and merge with another soul. This house governs the nature of how you commit yourself to others with regards to marriage, partnership, and contractual agreements. It defines the nature of how you adapt and settle into shared environments and intimate spaces with another person. So your planetary placements, and aspects that occupy this house, they help to determine how harmonious and congenial your relations with others can be. This house will also reveal if there can be difficult and contentious partnerships, and it can reveal how you approach partnerships in general, whether eagerly, passionately, fear, or with mistrust. So compromise. The seventh house is about compromise and negotiations necessary for striking a deal and creating a mutually beneficial agreement that both sides can be happy with. This is a Libra theme. This can be a personal relationship and through your business partners. It also deals with competitors and those who stand in opposition to ourselves, those competing for shared resources and common goals. The seventh house is where we look to see what you need in order to draw strength and security from other people. It's the self-versed other. The planetary placements and aspects of your seventh house, it can indicate something about how independent or codependent you are in your personal and one-on-one relationships. It speaks to how much validation that you seek from others versus how much support and encouragement that you give to others. Are you more self-oriented or other-oriented? We look to your seventh house because it represents your shared self that extends the same considerations and protections normally reserved for the preservation of your ego and your self-interest. Your seventh house deals with your one-to-one relationships as opposed to your more general group affiliations and broader associations of your 11th house. So here in your seventh house, what is highlighted is the sacred bond or a contract between two people or otherwise small groups of people who are bound by an oath or a loyalty or a contractual agreement to one another. It is through your seventh house that represents your obligations to other people and the partnerships and the contractual agreements that you form with another person. When you enter into these agreements, you are duty bound to respect and honor those stipulations and obligations that are outlined in your agreements. So the goal is to provide each person a mutually beneficial value that is reciprocal in nature, meaning like a win-win situation for you both. So it's a physical and intellectual union. Through this physical and intellectual union, you are able to extend your abilities and potential that is also enjoyed by others on the receiving end of your commitment. The planets that occupy your seventh house in the aspects that they form will determine the nature of how you behave in your committed relationships and partnerships. For example, if you have Mars in your seventh house, you're very passionate in your devotion. You're driven to go after what you want and you desire, but you can also be a little possessive at times. Your seventh house defines how you unite together with another person to achieve a common purpose. This bond is formed for both emotional and spiritual gratification. It is the need to connect and share your life with another and avoid the pain of loneliness and isolation. So, your seventh house is where you look to see your ability to compromise and to sacrifice your own self interest for the sake of another person. It represents your sense of self, your value through another person's eyes of your partner. We look to see how that value is enhanced by your affiliation and your relationship with another person. And this house is where we look to decide on what types of partners are best suited for you. For example, a woman with Mars in her seventh house is more likely to be attracted to a partner who is direct and masculine. Now, if she has Venus here, she may prefer a more refined partner who is more affectionate and sensual, as well as being both physically attractive. So I hope you learned something new. I would love to hear your thoughts, and in the comments below. To learn more, please hit like and subscribe.